Hey everyone, this is Mike, and yesterday the new Relic quest for Final Fantasy XIV came out for the first step of the Relic of Shadowbringers. Now, in this video I'm going to be talking about the new Relic, some of my opinions about it, what is good, what is bad, so to speak, because I got some mixed feelings about it. Now, if you're someone that hasn't done the quest yet, fear not, I'm not going to be bringing you spoilers in this video or anything like that. I'm just going to show you some generic dungeon gameplay in the background. I will, however, be talking about the content, I guess you can call it, of what we were given. So, for example, what we got in this patch and how to get the Relic weapon and the Relic armor. But I'm not going to show you any of that content, and also not going to be talking about who or what you are going to be fighting in this extreme trial and that kind of stuff, because I want to keep it a secret for everyone that is very interested in the MSQ and hasn't had the chance to go and complete it all yet. It is a relatively short quest, but still, not everybody has all the time in the world to go clear that, of course. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the Relic and the Relic armor, because we got both in this patch. Now, when it comes down to item level, whether or not you should go after this or something like that, it kind of depends. If you're somebody that has been raiding in Savage for ever since it came out pretty much, then the Relic armor and weapon is probably not going to be that important for you to get when it comes down to upgrades as your gear. It will of course be important to get now if you want to upgrade it later, because of course at the end of the expansion it will be best in slot, especially the weapon. For armor we don't know that 100% sure yet how that's all going to work. But for the most part, if you want to go get it, it's going to be for glamour purposes at the moment. And then of course, for some people it might be an upgrade. The weapon itself is item level 485, meaning that as long as you don't have the, I believe it is the Tombstone weapon, which you would need to clear, I believe it is normal mode 7 times for something like that. Basically, 485 is the weapon, the armor is all 480, meaning that it is on the same item level as crafted gear as well as normal mode raid gear. The reason why this gear is better though than crafted and the normal mode raid gear is because there's 5 materia slots. Now of course I do know that you can pentamelt crafted gear, but there are restrictions when it comes down to pentamelding, so being able to just put in 5 materia in this one without like needing to overmelt means that you can get a lot more substats on this gear. Of course this is only left side gear, so meaning a headpiece, a chest, gloves, legs and boots, but still it's going to be a decent upgrade if you're still running around with crafted gear or normal mode raid gear or something like that. So for some people this might be an upgrade. If you've been doing Savage since week 1, then this gear probably won't matter for you too much outside of some glamour, because the artifact gear that you can get, or the relic gear I guess we'll call it, is going to be the level 80 artifact gear that you can basically buy from, I believe it's called Geralt or Generalt or whatever he's called in Shadowbringers, which you can basically have like your level 80 job gear, so to speak, and this version is dyeable, so you can kind of color it the way that you like it. So I'm definitely gonna go after it for my Gunbreaker gear, because I quite like the artifact gear of Gunbreaker, and I do quite wanna get that as well. I'll talk about how to get it in just a second. Now, when it comes down to the actual relic weapon, the one that is a little bit more important, it was actually very lackluster, but on the other hand, it was also really cool, and I know that it sounds kind of weird to say it like that. So, unlocking the first relic was incredibly cool because it basically died in together with the storyline. So you go to Kugane, you pick up your first relic quest there, you do all of the story, you get a really cool story solo instance dungeon thingy, don't know what you want to call it, like basically solo instance I believe is the correct name. And you go in there, and in Shadowbringers fashion, they basically drop a bunch of lore bombs and you fight some really cool stuff in there. The instance itself is also beautiful. I've also seen some people like take a bunch of cool pictures with G-Pose and Storm Shade or whatever that thing is called. So those are all looking really cool. I was really impressed with the solo instance that they gave us. But when it came down to like actual relic related stuff on how you basically make these relics, that's where I was a little bit left in the dark, so to speak, because once you finish all of the story pertaining to the relic, you are given your first relic weapon. And I thought that was a little bit strange, but I was like, okay, I don't really mind getting the first one for free, because most people will probably want to get 1 or 2 extra for like alt jobs or something like that, which I'm definitely going to be doing. I'm going to be trying to get the one for Gunbreaker and the one for Black Mage at this point, and maybe I'll get some more in the future, we'll see about that. But when it came down to getting the extra relic weapons, I was expecting there to be some kind of content for us to do that was relic specific. For example, if you look back on the old expansions, we had the Atma farm back in A Realm Reborn. Then for Heavensward we had something similar where you had to do fates and then hope to get the drop from the fates. In Stormblood we of course had Eureka, where we had to go into that instance, grind NMs to basically get all of the materials to upgrade your relics and that kind of stuff to get the first finished version of the relic. But when it comes down to Shadowbringers, all you have to do is gather 1000 poetics, just go to a vendor, buy an item, and there you go, you've got your relic. So I was expecting there to be some piece of content that was specific for getting these relic weapons, but there isn't any. The only thing that I'm going to be doing now basically is doing 50, 60, 70 roulette and maybe alliance raids or something like that. Because outside of that, because I have all of my jobs at level 80, there isn't any content for me to do when it comes down to getting poetics, other than just spam some old dungeons or something like that. Because when it comes down to roulettes, I only have 2 roulettes that I can do in order to get poetics for myself. So I thought it was a little bit weird. On the other hand, I also don't mind that much because it makes me incentivized to do old content again, and there are a couple of old dungeons that I did quite like running a fair bit, so going back and now basically being incentivized to do the old content again was a cool thing. But on the other hand, I was expecting there to be something relic specific to do rather than just grind some old roulettes or something like that. However, the part where they do make up for this is that they released a secret trial. We already knew that there was going to be a secret trial that was going to tie in with the relic weapon. A lot of people were expecting that we had to grind this extreme primal, or extreme trial I should say, to basically upgrade the relic or something like that, but that is not the case. The extreme trial is just there to get your artifact gear. So the way it works is you go into the fight, you beat the fight itself, and then you get 2 tokens, and you also get 3 random coffers that drop. These coffers work exactly the same as they do in Savage Raids, where basically if it drops gloves and you get the coffer, then you can open this coffer on any job that you like, and then you get the correlating piece of gear for that job. So for example, say the chest piece drops, I use it on my Gunbreaker, then I get the chest piece for the Gunbreaker unlocked. Of course, if you're unlucky with your drops, you can go to Mordona and then you can trade your tokens there for a coffer of your choosing. So you can go in, get like 10 clears or something like that, hope to get lucky with maybe 1 or 2 coffers, and then you can buy the rest of the gear in Mordona so that you can get it that way. Of course, as I said, the relic gear is not upgraded, or like there's no upgrades for if you're a Savage Raider or something like that. If you're a little bit more casual and you still have some 3 or like 480 pieces or something like that, then the relic armor is definitely worth going after because it has those 5 materia slots attached to them. The new extreme trial itself I thought was really cool. I think it is a relatively, well, when it comes down to the difficulty, I think it might be the hardest trial that we have in Shadowbringers so far. The first phase is relatively okay, the second phase is fine as well. The final phase is probably what's going to be wiping most groups. I made a video yesterday where I did a clear POV, and then I also made a little guide on that fight, so if you get to the extreme trial and you want to know some stuff about it before you go into Party Finder, there are guides on the channel basically if you want to go check them out. But I thought the primal was pretty cool. Definitely did enjoy doing it with my friends and that kind of stuff, but I'm probably not going to do it too much. As not that much many of the artifact gear is something that I would be wearing outside of the Gunbreaker one, for example, because I did quite enjoy that one. So when it comes down to the relic this time around, it felt a little bit like Luster when it comes down to the weapon itself and how you obtain it and that kind of stuff, because all you're doing is basically gathering poetics, and when you get 1000 poetics you can just buy a weapon from the vendor, which I think is a little bit lackluster. I was much more expecting there to be some relic specific stuff to do, but on the other hand we do have this extreme trial where we can get our relic gear from, like our relic armor, which was extremely fun. So it does kind of balance out that way, so making the first step for the weapon itself a little bit easier, like a lot easier to obtain also for like casual players and that kind of stuff, and then basically having this extreme primal to farm this patch to get your gear, and then maybe when we go into the next step of the relic in the next patch, that's where we're getting more weapon specific content, so to speak. So definitely looking forward to what they are going to be doing with all of that. So for now, not too much to do yet if you're just after the weapon. If you do want to get the armor, that will probably take you a little while because you do need a fair amount of tokens, and then especially if you do want it for multiple jobs and that kind of stuff, it might take you a little while, but I do think the fight is pretty cool, so I'm definitely going to be doing it a little bit more as well in the future. But that is all I want to talk about today. Those are kind of my thoughts on the current Relic, how I'm a little bit mixed feelings about it, because on one hand the quest was a bit short, but on the other hand we were given this extreme trial when it comes down to getting the gear or the armor and that kind of stuff, which was really cool. And then of course we did get this amazing solo instance, which if we're gonna get those in the future patches as well, I'm definitely looking forward to what they are going to be doing with that. So that's all I want to talk about today. I want to thank you for watching, I want to thank my Patreons for supporting me, and I'll see you in the next one.